Hello and welcome, everyone. So excited to have so many familiar names here and a few new ones too. Looking forward to a wonderful conversation. To let you know, based on the questions that you submitted ahead of time, I'm going to do some adjusting. So what that means is there are a few slides I'm going to go a little bit quicker on. So that we have more time to dig deeper into some of the topics you show interest in, because I saw a lot of questions in similar areas. Now, in addition to the questions you submitted ahead of time, please know, of course, you are welcome to keep adding questions. You can do that one of two ways. If you're really brave and you want to come on live, you can raise your hand. And if you raise your hand, I will unmute you individually so that you can be live and ask your question. Alternatively, I am watching the question panel and actually seeing the good morning. Good morning to you too. You must be further west than I am. So I'm seeing that as well. Very excited to invite that. So glad to have you here. Yes, I will be sending you a link to the recording. We load it on YouTube, and everyone who registers receives that link after the fact. So you'll have access to the information again. Diving in, where are we going with this conversation today? So the agenda that is set up is, when does group or team coaching make sense? How is it different from facilitation or from training? Tips and techniques for results with group or team coaching, and then of course resources for you. Now I am seeing so many of you are saying hi in the box. That's awesome. I am also seeing one hand up. I'm not sure if you intended to ask a question this early on. Elmos, if you meant to come live and ask a question, leave your hand up. And if you did not mean to come live and ask a question, okay, you put it back down. So when you're ready, you can throw it back up. All right, let's dig in. Let's cover some of this and then dive in deeply to those questions. So first off, when does group or team coaching actually make sense? Think about it from the perspective of a coach. So if you are a coach offering services, you're in business, it makes sense to offer group or team coaching because it's a benefit for your clients. It's an additional service that you are including in your portfolio of services. And as a coach, frankly, it's a business builder. Group and team coaching is hot. It's hot in the corporate space. It is also hot groups who get together, learn from each other, and it makes sense for a lot of individuals as an affordable entry point into coaching. They can join a group at a much more doable price point, and then oftentimes find the benefit of the coaching and are interested in individual as well. It can also be a package offering. So, for example, a couple of days ago, I had a conversation with a coach and they were figuring out different possibilities. And based on the demographic they were going on, one option that is really great is to say to a client, hey, one group session per month and one individual session a month. So you have a touch point with that client every 2 weeks, and it's still a really affordable package for them. So a couple of ideas there. Now let's look at, when does it make sense from the client perspective? So for example, it increases team results in organizations. It increases individual results, both in organizations and individuals in groups based on a particular topic area. It is an opportunity for supporting the achievement of goals and objectives. And frankly, it's going to enhance engagement and productivity. Really fun story for you. We've been teaching group and team coaching in our training programs. And right now I've got a group going through and they're doing the group coaching sessions with each other. And one of the people in the group shared, and I thought this was great. They said, oh my gosh, this would have saved our company so much money, because there were two different groups that were in conflict with each other. And rather than having a group or team coaching session so that they worked through that, they brought in an outside consultant, and that was expensive. So it really is a money saver for clients. It's a fabulous opportunity. All right. let's dig into it. How does it make a difference? Well, think about it this way. Group or team coaching is very much like individual coaching. The impact is there. When you think about using this in the workplace, you're going to have an improvement in relationships. So this study, and you can see the name right on your screen. I'm not even going to read it. It's so long. Okay, here's what they found. You have an improvement in relationships with direct reports of 77%. Improvement in relationships with immediate supervisors, 71% said they experienced that. With peers, 63% said they experienced that. And then with clients, 37%. So when you improve relationships, that impacts the culture in the organization. It impacts engagement and productivity across the board. Now, coaching increases teamwork by 67%, job satisfaction by 61%, and organizational commitment by 44%. So these are all exciting numbers. Couple of more quick ones, and then we're going to dive into really, hey, what is it and how does it work? So productivity goes up 53%, quality of work up 48%, organizational strength increased 48%, profitability up 22%, customer complaints reduced by 34%, and cost reduced by 23%. These are significant impacts. So what does it really do? It taps into an effective and proven method for long-term development. We all know coaching works. It supports people navigating change in a way that is completely collaborative, and it uses economy of scale. It's an opportunity for skill enhancement, both individually and as a team, for resource identification, and in organizations, this is a great way of creating best practices for your company. It's empowering the group so that they learn from each other. They are engaged. Everyone's involved in that conversation. That helps everyone, and in turn supports that individual support. Okay, so that was a quick move through there. Now let's dive into the meat of this. What exactly is group coaching? So definition for you here: preparing for and empowering group exploration and interaction with people who have common interests or goals. So what does that mean to you? Sometimes it's a group inside of an organization. An example there, perhaps you have a group that are identified as high potentials and they're going through some leadership development or training programs. That's a great group and an opportunity for group coaching. What's fabulous there is the program they're going through is going to provide a lot of training and opportunity. When you do group coaching with them, you have them exploring, hey, what are we learning from this and how are we going to use it? And really developing in that way a plan that they're going to follow through on. Another example of group coaching is going to be based on the type of coaching you do. So for example, if you're a career coach, think about offering group coaching to your clients generally. And you may even determine ahead of time what the topics are. So you may say, hey, we're going to do a group coaching session on resumes. We're going to do a group coaching session on interviewing or on job search strategies or on maintaining your confidence during this process. So there are a lot of topics that are of common interest to people looking for a job. Alternatively, if your specialty is ADHD coaching, offer groups for people who are dealing with ADHD, and they can share ideas and brainstorm together ways of being more effective and of managing what they're dealing with. You can have a group session on any topic based on what your niche or area of expertise is as a coach. And so inviting people in, they're going to set individual goals. At the same time, they have them in common. They're all focused in the same area. If you're talking team coaching, these are people that work together. Now, they may or may not work for the same company and or the same department. They are working together on a specific project going after a specific outcome. And team coaching is preparing for and empowering their focus, discussions, process, and planning. So that's all part of what you're doing. Now let's differentiate between the roles. So for example, a trainer. Yeah, you look it up in the dictionary. I thought that was kind of funny. One that trains. All right, give me some more on that. Somebody who is in training is going to identify the skills objective. They're going to develop the training and deliver the training program. They're going to evaluate the skill level achieved, and then where appropriate, provide additional training. So training is a fabulous opportunity for providing information, for guiding and directing, for giving people opportunities to practice different skill sets. If you are a facilitator, this is somebody that is there to bring about an outcome, whether it's learning, productivity, or communication, and you're providing indirect or unobtrusive assistance, guidance, and or supervision. So, for example, a facilitator knows the end goal. They manage the group. They give options to move forward, and they make sure that the group works together for whatever the defined objective is. Now, let's compare that to coaching. According to the International Coach Federation, coaching is a strategic partnership. Now, here's a big difference. A trainer and a facilitator are brought in because they are the expert. A coach is a partner. They have a process. They're not there as the expert. There's a big difference there. They, in fact, empower the client, or in the case of group or team coaching, all of the clients, the client being that collective group, so that they clarify their goals, create their own action plans, move past those obstacles, and achieve what they choose. So how does that happen? The coach is questioning for the purpose of creating awareness and exploring. They provide positive support and encouragement. They focus on the future and on achieving goals. Very, very different than getting stuck on the problems in the past. So it's about the future. And it is the people in the group or on the team that choose the objectives and the actions. It's not the coach doing it. So now let's move into logistics of how to do this. So first off, who are you going to include? If it's a group, you want to make sure it's people who have a common interest. So for example, if I'm a coach and I say, okay, I'm going to start doing group coaching, and one person comes to my group because they're starting a business, and somebody else comes because they're going through a divorce, and somebody else comes because they want to get a new job, yeah, that ain't going to work so well. It's a group based on a common interest. Hey, everybody there is looking for a job, or everybody there is going through the divorce, or everybody there is developing themselves as a future leader, etc. So they have a common interest that they're talking about. If it's a team, it's a common focus. We have this particular project or purpose in terms of doing the coaching with this team. As far as size, and actually somebody asked that, the ICF defines a group or team as 3 to 15 people. So less than 3, it's not really a group. More than 15, it's too many to really effectively be group or team coaching. Now, there is a sweet spot inside of that. And here's what I'm going to say. When you add 1 or 2 people to that low number, so you have 4 or 5, maybe even 6 people, you get a lot more interaction and a discussion going on. When you get over 12 people, it starts getting harder to include everyone. If you're doing the group coaching and you're offering this as a business based on your niche, think about it this way. Start a group when you have 3 or 4 people and add to the group. When you get up close to 12 people, think about making that 2 groups instead of 1 so that you have space for everybody. If you're doing it in the workplace, you're talking about a team. Now, of course, your challenge there is who's really on that team. So sometimes it is a department or a project team specifically. Sometimes you're incorporating people who are from other organizations or other departments because they have that common job they're working on together. Sometimes the boss of some of the people is there and sometimes not. There's a lot of thinking to do ahead of time about who you want to include in that team coaching environment. You see, in some scenarios, it's really helpful to have the boss there. And in other scenarios, it really interferes with an effective discussion. So it's being aware of that, checking into that, and knowing. So explore who it makes sense to have there for that group or team coaching session. Now, in terms of the sessions themselves, how do you actually do it? Well, sometimes people come in and they've pre-selected the topic. This comes up commonly when you have a company that comes out and hires you as a coach and they say, hey, we want to bring you in to do group or team coaching. This is what we want you working on. And so you'll have the sponsor who's pre-selecting the topic. If you're a coach, we gave some examples, and you work in a particular niche area, you may be pre-selecting topics based on the group that you're working with. Alternatively, you can have the group or the team decide on the topics. Now, when you're a coach in a particular niche area, you can have something very broad in terms of the topic and have the group or the group that you're working with refine that further. Now, when you have a team and the company has pre-selected the topics, it's very helpful that you as a coach get in front of that team and you say, okay, so we're here for the team coaching. This is what the organization, the sponsor, is interested in having talked about and discussed. How do all of you want to address that? Because then they have the choice of either taking that on and owning it for themselves or saying, okay, that's the topic they gave us. Here's how we address it, and here's how we're going to use our time here. So there's a balance of giving them the ownership and control when the topic has been pre-selected by the organization. Another alternative in terms of selecting topics is you can, if you know the topic, prepare the questions ahead of time, or you can simply show up and say, okay, we're going to talk about this today. What's going on for everybody? And simply throw it out there. What do you want to accomplish in this conversation? When you're doing the group or team coaching, keep in mind that every single competency you learn for individual coaching applies in a group or team. You're using that same skill set. You've developed it, take advantage of it. So what does that mean? That means the focus is on the future, the positive and the proactive, just like our competencies tell us. It means you want to talk with everybody. Hey, how are we handling confidentiality? You want to have a conversation about what do you want to accomplish in this session? And defining those objectives, where appropriate, defining specific goals, action steps, and timelines. Alternatively, where appropriate, brainstorming, practicing, playing with different ideas. So get really clear with them what they want to achieve. During the conversation itself, as a coach, we model the clear, direct language. We're positive, we're proactive, we keep the focus there, and our questions keep their focus there so that they're on track based on what it is they want to achieve. We ask those short, simple, open-ended questions, and we rephrase what people say. We invite everybody in, we hold the space for them. So it's all of the same skills that we work on developing as individual coaches. We use them when we do team or group coaching. Now, in terms of choosing this, please keep in mind, think strategically. So if you're a coach and you have a niche area, it may be that your topic is as general as, hey, everybody that's part of this group is a small business owner or starting a small business. And then when they show up, they're getting more specific in terms of the conversation. Or if you're going to pre-select the topics, you can say, this week we're talking about developing our employees as small business owners. Next week, we're talking about how we take care of our customers. Next week, we're talking about sustainability, et cetera. So you have the choice. What is going to best serve your clients? An alternative with pre-selecting when you have that niche area is do a survey in advance. Use something like SurveyMonkey and get their input on selecting the topics. So you can do that in advance. You can also even do it in the first group and say, okay, let's talk about how we're going to function as a group, and let's talk about what we want to get out of these, what topics, etc. So you can do it either way. Be intentional with how you're approaching this. What is going to make the most sense for the people that are there? And I challenge you to also experiment both with preparing questions and with being free flowing. So when you prepare questions, for example, hey, here are 4 key questions, and maybe even sharing them with everybody because this is the topic area and they can be thinking about it ahead of time. And a recommendation for you, for every question you send out to them, have 4 more questions behind the question that if it makes sense, you've got something there. And if it doesn't, that's okay, just ignore it. So your preparation sometimes supports an effective conversation, and keep in mind, sometimes it gets in the way. Your preparation might have been going in one direction in terms of the thinking, and you get in there and that group goes a completely different direction. So you want to be comfortable with moving into that free-flowing format. So lots of options there. And hopefully I'm answering questions that came in ahead of time. Please, of course, feel free to type them in, to raise your hands, etc. Happy to go there as well. Now, in terms of hosting a group or a team, how can you do it? Well, there are so many online technologies. It's absolutely wonderful. You have options, and this is excellent because more and more organizations have people working remotely. They have them located all over the globe, etc., and that you can get online and meet from all over the world is excellent. Think about this group right here. We've got people from all over the world here. Now, in terms of online technologies, there are a lot of things to be thinking about. First off, you want an online technology that's easy for people to use, that is accessible for people on all different devices and from all different areas. Some online technologies have the ability for people to send chat messages and discussions. You can, for example, in this one, you can raise your hand, you can type in the question panel. So there are a lot of options like that. Another big one that's going to come up is whether or not you have webcams. And sometimes a webcam is great because everybody can see each other and get to know each other. And sometimes it becomes a distraction because people are eating or doing other things, or you get so busy looking at everybody and all the different webcams that you miss out on listening to the conversation or the discussions. There are pros and cons. I have seen it used very successfully where people start out with some webcams and then they, in fact, turn the webcams off and go into the discussion. So that way they're focused on the discussion. Think about what you want, what's going to make sense for you. It is possible to set up a conference call. Now, keep in mind, there are a lot of conference call services that you can access for free. A lot of companies have conference call services. When you are doing the conference call, if it's a company service, hey, is somebody recording it? And then you have a confidentiality issue. So just be checking into that. If it's one of the free services, do you want to record it and share it with the team? Or does the team say, no, we don't want this recorded? So you're having a conversation. Actually, that's either the online or the conference call. With the conference call, if everybody's in the same country, it's a little bit easier to do a call in literally on a telephone. And that can be convenient from people because it doesn't matter if they're near a computer or not. At the same time, if your technology is smartphone friendly, a lot of people can access it even if they are away from the internet. Conference calls with people from multiple countries can get really challenging because of long distance, etc. So be looking at what your options are there. That actually leads you to a lot of people will set up a group on Skype in advance and do the call with Skype. So be checking that out. whichever you're using, also be aware of how many people can join. I've had people schedule a group in a particular technology and they tested it out ahead of time with 2 people or 3 people, and the group size was 8 people and the technology couldn't handle it. So you want to make sure that you're looking at all of the variables when you're choosing that technology. Now, of course, in addition to that, you have the opportunity for a face-to-face conversation. That, of course, logistically means we're all in the same space. So be clear on, is that going to work? It could be a lot of fun, especially depending on the topic. If you're working with a group of teens, they get into that. They'll really enjoy it. So it does vary. Now, when you are doing that coaching, one of the things you're doing is managing the time. How much time for a group or team session? Something I've found is we often think about coaching sessions in terms of 60 minutes. When you have a group or team, 90 minutes is really helpful because you have more people discussing. And of course, you're using your coaching competencies. So I'm going to dig into that further. We started talking about that. Let's get specific. So in terms of your competency around meeting professional standards and the ethics, a big one you're addressing with a group or team is confidentiality. How are you maintaining that? Is everybody agreeing what we say here stays here? If it's being recorded, who has access to that recording? So discuss that with everybody. Your agreement is both the agreement with everybody there in terms of how this is going to work and how we're going to function together. And it's also every conversation. What do they want out of this? Your trust and intimacy is so important. When you have a group, it is on you as the coach to make sure you're maintaining the space in a way that's safe and open for everybody there. Sometimes that means managing some things that are going on, some of the dynamics between different members of the group or the team, keeping it safe and open. Of course, your presence, where you are dancing in the moment, you're present to everyone who is there, flexing and adjusting with them. You are listening with intention and rephrasing what people are saying. Your questions are short, simple, and open. Your language is clear, direct. You're succinct and you're respectful with it. You create awareness through the exploration process. You empower ownership in terms of designing actions. You empower that engagement for the planning and the goal setting. And you're managing and celebrating progress, success along the way. So all of your competencies apply. I know this has been a quick run through. Let me give you some basic information. I'm happy to stay around afterwards as well. So first off, in support of you, do check out what's available through the International Coach Federation, Center for Coaching Certification, and Center for Coaching Solutions. The International Coach Federation is at coachfederation.org. Center for Coaching Certification is at coachcert.com. Love to have you come check us out in terms of what's available for training. Our Master Coach and our Coach Specialist programs all include group and team coaching, so that's part of what you're learning there. Do look at that. And then, of course, Center for Coaching Solutions, if you are interested in outsourcing and bringing in somebody to coach the team or the group. Additional resources available to you. Let me go through. So first off, we do have a blog with new articles a couple times a week. The books that we publish every year, new book, chapters are written by graduates of the program, and you're going to find there's a lot of really great content in there. There are so many brilliant people writing these chapters. And then, of course, we do these free webinars every month to make sure that you're getting the information on them. Make sure you're on our email list. We are happy to be available for a quick check-in, a call, or an email. We do outsource consulting for helping people start and run coaching programs. We bring trainers to your organization and then, of course, provide coaches to you. What's next for you now? One of the things we offer, if you're interested in any of that, is the free consultation. It's a matter of being intentional. Choose your resources, plan your process, implement your strategy, and achieve the results. Sounds just like what we want out of coaching, right? So as I mentioned, I am going to stay around and answer additional questions in the meantime. Because we have used up our 30 minutes, I do want to thank each and every one of you for being here and let you know we are definitely interested in being your resource for getting results through coaching and coach training. So awesome. Okay. Definitely used our time. Thank you, everybody, and I'm appreciating the thanks I'm getting in the question panel. At this point, what I'm doing is hanging around and taking additional questions, going through what you want. So a couple of things that have come in so far. One of the questions that was asked is somebody wanted to know, are you going to get a copy of this? And here's what I'll share with you. Just like we do every time we do one of these presentations, we're going to load the recording onto our YouTube channel. And when it's there, I'm going to send all of you a link so you can go back to YouTube and see it again. So you're going to have access to that. So thank you for that. Let's see. Oh, good idea. Somebody said have a host to join your group session. Thank you. Some of you are going to be reaching out next week. Excellent. So I'll look forward to hearing from you. And I'm browsing through your notes in the panel. I'm looking for hands up for any additional questions, just to let you know what's going on behind the scenes. And I think from what I'm seeing, we have answered the questions that came in ahead of time. Let me go here. Somebody asked about coaching in academia in particular. So I see it as both an opportunity with students and with teachers, as well as an opportunity with administrators. So that's awesome. Jennifer, I'm seeing your hand is up, so I'm going to come over and unmute you and invite you in with your question. So Jennifer, I unmuted. There you go. Hi, Jennifer.
There we go. Hi, how are you?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Fabulous. Well, I just want to say, I guess my question has to do with, I implemented group coaching in my business last fall. And so I've been doing it, and my target market is with people who are in direct sales, or multi-level marketing. And so I've got a number of people who are in my group coaching sessions, but what I've been doing is trying to set up groups with people who are in different companies, so that way there's no crossover for, they have slightly different target markets, like there's no competition within the thing. But I guess my question comes to, so if I were, you mentioned team coaching, so like in corporations, that would be a group of people who are working together. So for direct sales, then I could potentially work together with people who are with the same company then, per se. My question has to do with then working with them in that situation where they've got their mentor or the person who brought them into the company. When you do that kind of thing, how do you incorporate or encourage full, open, honest communication when the person who brought them in is probably sitting in the room or on the call?
Yeah. Okay. Love that question. Thank you for that. And Jennifer, what I'm going to do is mute you. Well, actually, let me leave you live while I answer it in case you have a follow-up question. So
okay.
The first thing to be aware of is, do you want that person there? And by the way, there isn't a clear-cut answer in that. The personality of that mentor, the person that brought them in, might be such that they really are going to support the individual salesperson. And it's great to have them there. That's somebody else that's encouraging them and supporting them. Alternatively, it may be, like you said, it really kind of shuts down the individual contributor or salesperson because they can't say certain things with that person there. So part of your job is figuring out that dynamic ahead of time. And it may involve literally having the conversation with the boss, going to that boss and saying, hey, what are the pros and the cons of you being in this group or team coaching session? How is it perceived by others? What happens in terms of them being able to really openly discuss and share challenges and that kind of thing? So exploring that with them as a coach, if they're interfering with the success of the people that are participating, you may want to have that conversation. Set up some individual coaching as a side opportunity, because obviously there's a challenge in that relationship. And then if it's they're really supportive of the individual member, it can be a real asset to have them there.
Right. Good. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. That really helps me kind of direct as I start the conversations now with the leaders in my area. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jennifer. Great question. All right. And who else has a question? So I'm looking in the question panel, and gosh, thinking we are good, everybody. Seems like we've answered your questions. Definitely appreciate you being here and your time. Keep us posted on what else we can do to be supportive of you. And for those of you who are graduates, think about writing a chapter for this year's book. Talk to you all soon, everyone. Take care.